Okay, guys, good morning. Happy Webinar Wednesday. It is 9:30 and we always start right on time. And we're so grateful to have you with us this morning again. I'm Diane Michael with Beyond the Boardroom, and I'm here with my best friend and my partner, Lindsay Lombardi, who is a CAM. She also owns Coastal Living Association Management and works with Dominion Management. If this is your first time with us, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. We're thankful to have you attend again. Our goal at Beyond the Boardroom is to educate board members and CAMs in an easy way at your desk, on your mobile, while you're traveling. I myself have been able to help host this from another country, and I'm from another part of Florida. So it's been really great to be able to host these types of programs for free anywhere in the world. The more you learn, the more you earn is a quote that I like from Warren Buffett. So we appreciate you having that same mentality. Many of you, if you've been taking our courses, have already received probably all of your credits, but we recommend that you're constantly at elevating what you do, what you know, and who your potential partners are. We know how important education and CE credits are, and that's exactly why we decided to launch the Beyond the Boardroom program almost 2 years ago already, if you can believe that. We started only on the fourth Wednesday of each month, and we've already grown to the second and fourth Wednesday, and we've received 6 new vendors who we coin as association allies this year alone. So we're probably going to add a third Wednesday. But mark your calendars for the next one right now. That's May 27th, Wednesday, May 27th. Keep watching the emails to be sure that you can see all of the credits that are upcoming, all the programs that we're hosting. If you aren't getting an email from me weekly, then you may be missing something. So be sure to go to your spam or your junk folder and save that email as a safe sender and mark it as not spam and to always allow in so that you don't miss any important education updates. And of course, we would love for you to let your board members know and let your CAMs know. Now, board members don't get credit on most courses. If they do get credit, we will highlight that in the newsletter. We will promote that to make sure that board members know that they can get credit. However, we think that a more educated board member is better for the CAM, for the community, and for all of the residents of the association. We would love to know where everyone is coming in from today. We would love to show Tom from East Coast Pools and Spas where everyone's coming in from. So I just opened chat. So can we tell Tom where we're coming in from while I pull this noisy toy away from my new dog? Okay, now I'm excited to let Lindsay talk about credits, but I do want to say I'm going to put the agenda in the chat. But today we have a continuing education for some great categories. The first one with Tom is HR. We have HOA, which is the EH2, which Lindsay will review. We have ELE and IFM. So I will be putting that into the chat. Lindsay, will you just go over how credit works?
Absolutely. So for those of you who have been here before, most of you know how we do this process, but at the end of the course, we will share a link in the chat and you will go there and register for today's courses that you take. You will have to do it for each course that you take. You will put the course name and a code word that we provide at the end. We cannot give you credit if you don't have the code word, and we can't provide it after the course. We can only provide it when we provide it at the end today of each course. And then obviously your first name, middle initial, last name, and your CAM license number. Please be really careful when putting in your CAM license number. We've had a few people reach out that they haven't gotten credit, and we found that there was a couple numbers that were in there the wrong way, or something was off. So make sure that the name that you provide is the name that's on your license. If you've gotten remarried or married and you're license has your maiden name, please make sure that that's what's on the submission that you send because you won't get credit otherwise. Um, there were a couple questions in the chat about credit. We submit credit usually to the DBPR within a week of the course, and then it can take them up to 30 days to give you credit. If you have taken courses in the past and it's been more than 30 days, we will also share at the end a link that will take you to our website where you will see an email address. And at that email address specifically is the email address you will need to reach out to in order to ask questions about your credit and let us know specifically which courses you don't have credit for. And then again, confirm your license number and your name that's on your license in that email. And then we'll be able to, and the date that you took the course. And then we can go back and look in our records and see why you wouldn't have gotten credit. But please make sure when you email that you send all that information, your name, your CAM license, what course you took, what day it was, so we can go back and check our records. And For the HOA credit, there's some confusion on that. So there are two different types of credits that people that manage HOAs have to get. One is EH1 and the other is EH2. EH1 is bookkeeping. So right now we don't have an EH1 credit. We're working on that, but we offer the EH2 credit. So that is something that when you see us list HOA now, we'll kind of put in parentheses which one it qualifies for. So we do offer a couple of those, but they are under the EH2 category. So just note that for today for the course that we're doing that is HOA.
Okay, thanks, Lindsay. Okay, everyone. Tom Gilbert with East Coast Pools and Spas has nearly 3 decades of experience in the pool industry. He started in the field as a laborer and worked his way up to starting his own company. Tom is not just the business owner, but an acute, hands-on builder that many builders choose to build for the homes that they're building. He frequently takes classes to improve his knowledge of the pool industry, all safety aspects along using green building initiatives, and strives to use only state-of-the-art pool technology. Has been involved in the Florida Swimming Pool Association for decades. He is involved with the Pool and Hot Tub Association. He is involved in many local groups in the Volusia, Flagler, St. John's areas, and even in Jacksonville. They are an award-winning pool company. I've worked with their team for a long time. They actually service my pool, which I love. And I know a lot of people that are camps have worked with him and his team, and they all have 5-star reviews and ratings for Tom and his team. Certainly check them out online if you are looking to add a new pool contractor to your commercial projects. Without any further ado, Tom, welcome. Good morning.
Morning. How's everyone doing?
Living the dream, living the dream. Take it away.
So what we're going to go over today is we're going to go over comparing apples to apples, basically comparing bids or trying to get a bid for your everyone's commercial projects. So basically we're going to try to evaluate some things that you may see when you're looking to get proposals for renovations, and also like trying to have a clear basically a clear request for proposal for each person. So maybe some things we'll go over is a good form I came up with, which will help you guys try to evaluate getting a bid from other people. So off the very beginning, we'll move into the introduction, why clear bidding matters, importance of transparency and trust, the cost of unclear expectations, and case studies, basically a $50,000 mistake from a murky bid. Basically, what you're trying to stay away from is like bad actors, which is salespeople trying to oversell themselves on the resurface or not totally trusting what they're doing. Some of them are not licensed contractors or haven't had a lot of experience in remodeling commercial pools. So when they come out to give you an estimate, they don't catch everything at first because they haven't seen everything. So one bad example was the pool was inside of a building, and which is very hard to work on, especially using the exhaust system. We had to build an exhaust system just to get some of the materials from inside because we had to chip all the old finish off the pool because they decided to plaster the pool with no bonding agent. So all the new finish that got put on there just started coming off in chunks and layers. So we ended up having to chip all the old finish off all the way back down to the original pool shell. So you can only imagine how much dust that made for inside pool. So then with the exhaust and all that stuff that they had to build, plus to redo the pool again for the second time, that's where they had the $50,000 problem. So that's what you got to try to stay away from. That's why this request for proposals that I came up with will help you guys maybe deter some of the people that you get for bids. So on the next slide, understanding and comparing comparable bids. What does apples to apples really mean? Must have components in every pool project bid. So, scope of work, materials list, labor breakdown, timeline and milestones, permitting responsibilities. You want to make sure they're getting their permits from the cities and the health departments, payment schedules, insurance. It's a very big thing is to have insurance. So what I came up with on the pool resurface request for proposal, basically like at the very start of it, give them like 2 to 3 weeks max to get your bid back. You don't want to be waiting around too much longer than that. Background information, basically the condo that they're going to be doing work for. If you have the size of the pool, it'd be great to put it in there. It'd be helpful. Otherwise, they can measure it while they're there. Project requirements. Basically, the request for proposal requires the following scope of supply by the supplier, all below depending on exactly what the details in the project entails. So drain the pool. You want them to be draining the pool right off the bat. Removing the plugs in the floor of the main drain so the pool doesn't remove itself and push itself up out of ground, especially in wet locations. If you're replacing the tile, make sure they're removing all the old tile off. So many times we go out and check on work and redo work over again because they just tiled right over the old tile and the tiles start popping off. Once the tile starts coming off, now you need to redo the entire finish of the whole pool. Looking for any cracks that are in the pool before the job starts because those can be very big problems. So like just a 5 foot crack is a $2,000 to $3,000 repair. So if you got multiple cracks in the pool and everyone came out to bid it and didn't see the cracking, that's where you need to have experts out there doing the bids for them. But if everyone misses that, I mean that could be $20,000 problem coming back to all after you already had the bid in and approved by your board members, and now you have a $20,000 change order, which you don't want to have a bunch of that. Installing new bullnose tile. A lot of the standard nowadays is non-skid, has to be on the gutter and all the stairs. So you need to make sure that's in the bid. If the pool's deeper than 6 feet, you have to have a tile break across the pool and also rope. So you need to make sure that's in there. Loose, a lot of the beams and stuff, like the older pools especially, they'll have a top beam where it has double tile on each side. So if you have to replace the tile on that top beam, you might as well make sure that they bid to repair the top beam, retexture it or restain it or vice versa, or maybe even put pavers up. Now pavers have become so popular because that top coat requires so much maintenance. Pavers have become the new thing for the top beam. The new the old surface, you need to make sure that they're taking off the old surface off the scum gutters so that they're not raising the scum gutter heights up any higher than they already are. Because every time they put a new layer of plaster on there, they're raising the scum gutter height, which raises the tile line, which then raises the water height in the holding tanks, like the collector tanks. On the older pools, they're old concrete ones. on the newer pools, they're fiberglass tanks, but you raise the water height, you're raising the water height in that tank. If you raise it too many times, then the water just will spill out of the fiberglass tank. And then now you're at a mercy of trying to fight that every time the filters get dirty. You're just wasting water everywhere. So then when they chip the old gutter down, then you don't really need gutter extensions because they're already getting to the right heights of the scum gutters. So then all you need to do is just replace the grates. You don't have to add a riser on there. A lot of the times when they add the risers, they don't waterproof around them and they're notorious for leaking. So if you get them to just chip off all the scum gutter, you may not have them chip the entire pool old finish off because of the cost of it. Usually it's not necessary. Usually you can just have them make sure they find all the hollow spots and get all those chipped out of there. Then a nice bonding agent over the old pool finish, and then you can resurface it. The only time you'd want to chip all the old finish off is if you found out that they didn't use a bonding agent the last time, and then you put a new finish on, and now you have all these problems. Then the new finish is coming off with the old finish. That's when you'd have to chip it all down. Let's see. Bonding agent, that's important. You probably should put in there like where you want to have for like what kind of finish you want to go with. Either it's a quartz finish, or a lot of the times we've been doing a lot of pebble on commercial pools because it does last a little bit longer. Most of the time, you need to about every 5 to 7 years, you should be looking to resurface the pool. Main drains, the covers only last for 7 years, so usually around the 5 to 7 year range, you have to resurface. But if you're doing the pebbles, you can usually get to around the 12-year mark. So it does last longer, but it does cost a bit more, but not as much as it would cost to have to redo the pool again in 7 years versus the 12. So it's almost 3 times the lifespan over the 3 years. So you also want to make sure that they start the water chemistry in the very beginning and put all the chemicals back in the pool. You want them to start up the pool, get it back up and running, and at least put the initial chemical run in it so that then there's not this hearsay about who started the pool up and your maintenance guy didn't get the chemicals right in the beginning, and that's why the finish doesn't look good. That stops all that right there. If you have whoever does the resurface on the pool start the pool up, that's where you find the more reputable companies. They'll do their own startups if they have their own in-house employees, which is another big thing, is to try to get companies that actually have workers, not sub the whole entire job out to somebody else. That's when you can get a lot more problems because then it's a lot of pointing fingers of nothing got done. This way, at least if they have their own in-house employees, they'll get someone out there, start the pool, get it going, maybe make a couple visits, make sure everything's up to code, and get the chemicals running again so that it'll pass the health department. Because all commercial pools have to, no matter the jurisdiction, you have to tell the health department you're resurfacing. And once you let them know you're resurfacing, you have to bring everything back up to the new codes. So no dive signs on the top, depth markers everywhere within 3 inches of the depth. They have to be located and told what depths they are. Also, on older pools that have old concrete tanks that hold the filters in them, you need to make sure that when you resurface the pool, that tank gets resurfaced at the same time. A lot of times you see that people forget them, don't realize that they're there, and those are common for leaks because it's all the fittings are just shoved in through a concrete block wall, and they're notorious for leaking around all the pipe fittings that come into the wall. So you want to make sure you get that redone at the same time. Handrails need to be secure, can't be wobbly. Need to make sure they replace all the escutcheons. And then the ladders have to have a cross brace. If they don't have a cross brace, then they need to be replaced. That's the new code. So they will, make sure those are in there for resurface. And that would get you down to the service standards generally. Work performed at the property. You want to make sure that they have insurance on all their vehicles, workers' comp for all the employees, liability insurance. Want to have them also have you listed on their insurance policy, especially when they go to start the work. They don't have to have it for the bid part, but you want to make sure that they have insurance. And then you want to make sure that the minimum qualifications, supplier should have the following minimum qualifications: licensed to do business in the state of Florida. You really need to prefer to have licensed commercial pool contractors do pool renovations, not just a residential pool contractor doing your pool renovations. You really want to have licensed commercial pool contractors. There is a difference. You want to at least have a minimum of 5 years experience doing commercial pools, especially in your area. You don't want them to not have any pools done in your area. That means they probably don't have a lot of experience if they haven't been in your area already. And then 3 references would be great if you could get 3 references. Maybe not as big of a deal when you're just trying to get proposals, but when you nail down one of the ones that you want, you might want to reach out to a couple references, and especially in your area, at least pools that they've done. And that gets us through the bid process. Move on to beneath the surface, hidden costs and common omissions. Change orders. That'd be extra layers of tiles that were not known because they tiled over the old tile. Pool finishes with no bond coat. That's a big change order. That's when you're going to have to chip all the old finish off the pool, which can be a costly expense, usually around $3,000 to $7,000. Scum gutters with extra layers of tile in the finish, causing them to overflow the tanks. That's another big one. That's why it would just have everyone just remove the scum gutter plaster right off the bat. Just have everyone remove it right back down to the old pool shell. Because when the pool shell was originally done, however long since it's been remodeled, it was set to the height of the tanks originally. Then they put the tile on there and a half an inch of finish. Well, if it's been done 3 times, you got an inch and a half of over finish on there that needs to be removed. That's the problem we see a lot with the overflowing of the tank, especially the fiberglass tanks, because they're already set with only about a 2-inch tolerance. You add all that in there and a little bit of rain, and now you start overflowing the water where the pool equipment is, because the tanks are usually now tied in with your pool equipment in the covers, in the enclosure. So all your stuff in there, your pumps and stuff, can get into underwater if the drains are clogged. Site specific adjustments, grading, drainage, utilities. A lot of that is for new construction, but some areas when you go and remodel a commercial pool, you need to replace the equipment there. So that's when you could get into the drainage, having to put it into old pools a long time ago. They could just, especially on the ocean, they had pipes that were backwashing right out into the ocean, right on the beach. That is not allowed. So if you go and replace equipment, you need to make sure now it has to be gone into the sewer system. So you also have to make sure that you have that in there. Collector tanks. Sometimes you have to put in like leach tanks if you can't get it into the septic system, or build septics. We've had to do that a couple times, especially in the areas where you can't get to the drainage of the sewer system of the building. You have to actually put in filter tanks, and those are big expenses, especially on the ocean. Those can add another $6,000 to $7,000 in fees. Permits, inspections, and HOA fees. Those are mostly, a lot of that is for new construction, but you still have to have a permit with the health department no matter what area you're in, and they have to do a final inspection before the pool can be opened. That's a big thing. So if you go and don't have someone that goes and, especially if they don't have the experience in doing it, they don't realize that you have to have a health department inspection. They go and remodel the pool. Somehow the health department finds out you remodeled it. Now your pool's closed for 45, 50 days till you get a permit and then get the inspections and everything taken care of. They'll just close your pool down. So you want to make sure that that's happening. Permits, some cities and counties do require permits for pool renovation on a commercial pool, but some don't. You just have to check with your area. I know that all our areas, which are Volusia, Flagler, St. John's, Orange, those areas, they all require a permit. And then your long-term cost, warranty, maintenance, and service. The warranties, you want to make sure you're at least getting a 3-year workmanship warranty. And then the maintenance and service. A lot of the maintenance is on your own parts, but you want to make sure that the company is reputable. So if something breaks there, you have them on speed dial. Maybe you don't use them all the time because you a lot of the times you have your own pool service companies, but you may reach out to them for like a small, minor, quick repair. And at least if you used a reputable company, you could be able to call them and they'd come right out for you instead of hiring a company from like 100 some miles away and they don't want to come back out and do anything because it's too far a travel time for them. Filter it right, how to evaluate bids objectively. Bid comparison worksheet, that's what we went over earlier. The request for proposals. I'm not sure if that's, I'm not sure if Diane and them have shared that yet. We'll have to get with them in a minute.
We did. We put it in the chat.
Okay.
Yep, we can pull it up after the presentation so you can go over it too.
Okay. All right. And then red flags to watch out for. A lot of that is most of the time, and the red flags to watch out for is not enough insurance, time in business, and in-house crews. If they don't have any in-house employees, how are they going to watch out for your job? First of all, are they going to have superintendents? One superintendent covering 30 job sites is very tricky. You're not going to get the quality of work when they don't have a lot of employees. In-house crews are different. When you hire companies that have in-house crews, they come to your site, you'll see the same guys for the whole week working on your pool. That's where you can get a little bit more personal attention. Where you have subs, they're in and out, they're just trying to get paid. And then that's where it can take longer because they'll just say that, oh, our subs didn't show this week, we're behind schedule. And they have their own in-house employees, they're already scheduled for the week to be there. So if they're going to be delayed, it may be a 1 day delay or not. It's not going to be weeks of delays. That's where you find these remodels that come in and you hear about disasters of 45, 60-day remodels. Now your pool's closed down for 60 days and you're just taking grief from all the people in the HOA just getting after you about being behind. That's when you want to vetting your credentials and reviews. You want to look into the companies and make sure they're reputable, not just because they were $5,000 or $6,000 cheaper than everyone else. Those are usually a problem. Usually want to get a bid right around in the middle. Sometimes some of the higher end guys may have had someone better to come out there and actually do the estimate. Like on commercial remodels, I personally do all the estimates because I haven't found anyone that can look into every detail of the commercial pool to give them the perfect bid. A lot of the times the sales guys, they're just not, they might be good at residential pools for estimates, but commercial pools have so much more work to them. And there's so many more problems that can be quick, big numbers, big number problems right off the bat that no one would ever see. Especially the equipment alone can cause big problems. If it's not up to code, you're going to have to bring it up to code when you go and get your permit from the health department. Chemical control units right off the bat. If it doesn't have a chemical control unit, that has to be done right off the bat because they will flag it right then and they'll shut you down until you get it. So nowadays, everyone has to have a chemical control unit that tests the water daily and injects the amount of chlorine and acid that the pool needs. So that's one of the big things there. And then that's questions to ask each vendor. Do you have in-house employees? Do you have superintendents? How do I reduce the cost? Some of this is like a tricky one. You can see if they do tile over the old tile, if it's okay to do that. That could be one way of venting out like who's comparable to do each job. Really, you would see if they would actually cut a corner at that time, and that would be probably a time you would not want to have them do any work for you. It's not good to cut corners. It doesn't save anyone any money. Maybe at the certain time it may save you a few dollars, but it's going to come back two times full, especially if you did a resurface and have to stop what you're doing and tear the whole pool apart again and redo the entire surface again. Not just as money, but it's also time that the pool's closed down, especially if you're in areas that the pool's open year round and you get all your northerners come down and they want to use the pool, especially if they only come down once a year and it's closed again because something happened with the last resurface. Splash test, a guided walkthrough of real bids, side by side analysis of sample proposals, interactive exercise, spot the differences. So that would be walkthrough of real bids. Basically, that's why you have the sample proposal. I think, let's see. The sample proposal would be that's when you would be so helpful if you have this request for proposal that we'll go over in a few minutes. You'll see where it'll help you for sure. It may not have everything that you'll be doing to your job, but if you have something sample like this to give every vendor that comes out to give you an estimate, you will have really close bids, first of all. And then there won't be anything really missed because you will have already laid out the actual specifics that you're looking for instead of calling everyone out there and just saying, hey, we need to resurface the pool. And then hoping that you get a qualified person to actually come out and pick everything that needs to be done. If you go out and spend a little extra time and walk through the steps, especially through this project requirements. And then you can pick everything that needs to be done on there. You copy and paste it or whatever, or add a few things that you may need done that are different than what's on this sheet. Then at least all everyone's bids will be comparable. Let's see. Communicating expectations to vendor, creating a bid request template. So we just went over how to ensure each bidder includes the same details, managing expectations with homeowners and boards. Final takeaways and resources, summary checklist for comparing pool bids, links to the DBPR resources and FSBA guidelines, basically, which will give you, you can find if they're reputable companies. So can you put up that sheet, Diane?
Yeah, Tom, I'm here. Give me 1 second and I will
I
share
got
it.
I'm here
Oh,
too.
you
I'm
got it?
sorry.
Okay.
I'm trying to do five things and this is not for whatever reason. All right. So everyone, just so everybody knows, when you're in Zoom, if you log in at a certain time and like let's say you log in now, you're not going to see any of the chat from previously. That's just how Zoom works. So you're going to, you're going to always want to sign on when the class is started. But yeah, it's in chat right now. And Tom, are you able to see it in chat and open it from there to just go over it so you can show everybody what's in it?
Uh, I have it. I have it right now. I have a copy
Uh,
of it. I'll go over it.
let's
Do you want me to
let's do
share
it.
it?
Let's just do it after the final takeaways because this screen is up right now. You know what I mean? Like
I
let's
did the
finish
final
this.
takeaways already. I can do like the final exam.
Dude, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Lindsay, if you
Okay.
could do this with him, thanks. And then
Perfect.
we'll go over the RFP at the very end. Thanks, guys.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Well, let's go over 10 questions together and see how we do. Question number one: what is the primary risk of unclear pool project bids? A faster project completion. B, increased transparency. C, costly mistakes and delays. Or D, better vendor relationships.
Looks like everyone's getting it. It's C, costly mistakes and delays.
Correct. That is the correct answer. Question number two: which of the following is not a must have in every pool bid project bid? Scope of work, detailed materials list, vendor's favorite color, payment schedule. This one does get the C on this here, vendor's favorite color. I'm actually going to maybe put that into something. That can be troublesome when you get a bunch of board members and they go and pick the colors of the tile that everyone goes to pick, and then they start changing things, and then it ends up costing a lot more to the job. But the answer to that one is C, vendor's favorite color. That can change the pricing if someone picks like a glass tile. Nowadays, glass tile is becoming so popular, but it adds usually about $2,000 to $3,000 to every job. So that can be tricky there.
It looks really pretty though.
Oh, it does look a lot nicer. Question number three: what are hidden leaks in pool project bids referring to? Water seepage, hidden costs or emissions, vendor communication, or pool design differences?
Got a couple A's, but mostly B's. Hidden
B is the
costs
correct
or
answer.
emissions.
Question number four: what is the purpose of comparing bids, apples to apples? Ensuring bids that are the same detail for fair comparison. Or B, compare different project types. C, focus only on the lowest price. Or D, skip warranty details. A is the correct answer, ensuring bids that have the same detail for fair comparisons. Question number five: which factor can significantly change cost depending on the property size? Pool color, landscaper preferences, grading and drainage issue, size of the HOA board. So, answer to that one is C, grading and drainage issues. Question number six: why is a bid comparing worksheet helpful? It makes projects more expensive. It simplifies evaluating bids objectively. It eliminates the need for vendor meetings. It guarantees project approval.
Got a lot of bees coming in. Bees, 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 bees.
D is correct. It simplifies evaluating bids objectively. Let's see. Question seven: which of the following is a red flag in a pool bid? A clear warranty terms. B, detailed timeline. C, missing permit details. Or D, transparent material list.
Smart cams this morning. They're awake. They're saying C.
C is correct, missing permit details. Question number eight: what should cams and boards do when requesting bids from vendors? A, leave requirements vague. B, ensure all vendors include the same details. C, only ask for pricing. D, skip communication.
I'll tell you, it's impressive. These cams like get the answer before the question is even read. So they all said B's.
D is the correct answer. Ensure all vendors include the same details. It's just because I read slow, I think.
Well, I think maybe they have ESP. One never knows. Or they're just
What
super
is
smart cams, right?
That's right. Question nine: what is an example of long-term cost often overlooked in bids? Change orders, maintenance and service agreements, drainage issues, or HOA review fees? Maintenance
Okay.
and service agreements is the correct
Ooh,
answer.
some people said A. Oops.
Why is clear communication with vendors important? It prevents misaligned expectations. It speeds up payment schedules. It reduces permit requirements, or it eliminates warranties. A is the correct answer. It prevents misaligned expectations. All righty.
Right. I'm going to jump in here, Tom. So I had a number of people in chat ask about how to get a copy of this presentation. I said that they should just contact you. I don't know if you can actually see. Oh yeah, you can see it. The contact um, on the screen. So what I'm going to do, everyone, I'm going to stop the chat so that no one can get in there so everyone can now see. So in the chat, you're going to see um how to contact Lisa to get a copy of this PowerPoint. And then also for a consultation because East Coast Pools and Spas is in Volusia, Flagler, St. John's, Duval. And they also, because Tom is involved with the Florida Swimming Pool Association across the state of Florida, he has a lot of counterparts within the whole state. So if you're not happy with your current pool contractor, service person, we highly recommend that you contact East Coast Pools and Spas to see if they can give you any referral. Is that okay, Tom? Is that fair?
Yeah, I'm on the commercial council for the state, so I know a lot of vendors all over the state that do commercial pool work. So if it's
And we
commercial pools, I got you, no problem.
We love that. So you can take a picture of the screen right now because we're going to pull it down and go over the RFP that we're going to put into the chat again. Or you can grab the contact information, cut and paste it straight from the chat from me that's under chat. And if you're new to Zoom, or you just forget because you're not on it often, just, scroll over the screen and hit chat. We've had over 200 cams this morning to participate. So we're so grateful. If you could stop sharing, Tom, I will open the share and I will show you. Let's see, where are you guys? Sorry, guys, you're going to have to see my folders for a second because, you know, you're just going to have to. So, Tom, Tom, can you see this? Okay, if you want to go over it just real quickly, just how, what's in here and I will put it in the chat as well.
Okay. So let's see. So right off the beginning, the background information, basically that's just name of the association, and sometimes you might actually include like how big the pool is. That might be a little bit helpful, but it's not necessary. But if you have that information, it'd be nice to put in there. And then what you're looking for, you're seeking a qualified contractor to provide a proposal for resurfacing the swimming pool. You might put in some specifications there also as well. But at the very top, you also want to make sure like you set aside like it's going to be 2 weeks from we would like to have our bid back, or it maybe 2 weeks is cutting it close if you can't find a lot of guys that can show up in the same week. So maybe you could go to 3 weeks, but you don't really want to have it where they don't have a timeline. A timeline, no matter what, just makes everyone get things done faster. It's a good thing to have. So the project requirements, basically, you want them to drain the pool, pull the plug out of the main drain, make sure that the pool doesn't pop out of the ground. It releases the pressure from underneath the pool and lets the water come back into the pool so that the pool doesn't raise up out of the ground. If you're going to replacing the tile on the pool, you want to make sure they tear all the tile off. If they're going to put new tile on, is it going to be a bullnose because it's got a pull beam at the top, or is it going to be a standard 6x6 tile for the newer style pools? Those have standard 6x6 tile, but your older pools that have a curb around the edge, they have to have a bullnose edge up top. So if you're going to do the inside of the edge, or you're going to do also the outside of the edge. If you're doing that, you need to probably specify in there if they're going to have to fix the pool top beam around the pool, because if they're going to take the tiles off, they're going to end up chipping it up. So there's no reason to not have them at least address that in the bid. Are you going to need a tile break across the edge of the pool? That's for pools that are over 6 feet deep. The state requires a tile break also to let people know that there's a drop off. Let's see. Non-skid tile. You have to have non-skid tile on all the steps, all the benches, and the scum gutter top where the water touches it. That's a code. So all that tile has to be replaced when you do a resurface. Let's see. Existing surface, check for hollow spots and leaks. Back to the scum gutter, you want to make sure that they remove all the scum gutter plaster off of it so that you're not raising the scum gutter up any higher than it already is. That is a big thing. It doesn't take a whole lot of work for them to chip it off. And it saves you in the long run of just keep adding layers and layers on top of that scum gutter. Then that just adds more and more drain scum gutter extension collars, and those are notorious for leaking. I mean, commercial pools leak already, and most of the time you don't even know because it has an automatic system where it just keeps pumping water. A lot of the times, if you go there and shut those automatic systems down, you'll notice right off the bat. Within like a couple days, the pool's dropped 3-4 inches, just like that, how bad commercial pools leak. And majority of the time, that's where the leak is in the scum gutter grates, believe it or not. That's another thing that you could also check is have your maintenance before you even start this bid process, is like maybe have the maintenance team even shut it down so that you can determine if the pool is leaking. And maybe it's not a bad idea to even have a leak detection company to come out there and go over the pool and check and see like where the leaks possibly are, because these pools are leaking and they are costing major amounts of water over time. And some of them we've seen 20,000 gallons in a month, which adds up to huge cost over time. And then you want to make sure they're undercutting around all the fittings in the pool. They're replacing all the fittings in the pool. New light rings if you need them for the older style lights. Tile, you're going to have rope across the pool if you're going to need a tile break. Bond coating the pool. Make sure they're putting a bond coat on the pool over the old finish, that they're not just adhering the new finish right over the old finish. That's a big no-no. Make sure they're acid washing the old finish, cleaning it really well with a pressure washer. And then you want to have everyone quote the same style finish. So if you're going to use a quartz finish, maybe just pick a manufacturer like Florida Stucco I put on there. There's also Diamond Bright, and there's a Marquise one too. But majority of the time, if you just state one on there, everyone can at least bid off the same thing. And then this is where you would, if you were going to do a pebble finish, which has become more and more popular, we're finding that a lot of the newer companies that are getting bought out by all the old companies, they like the pebble finish because it does last about 5 years longer over time. So that be where you'd specify if you were going to want a pebble finish quote, or at least maybe just get them to put a line item on there of how much extra it would cost for it. The colors are a little bit nicer, but the finish lasts so much longer. It's becoming more and more worth it. And then if you need to plaster the old filter tank, that's a time to do that. And then making sure they change out the main drain in the pool, because the covers only last 7 years. So that's a code that needs to be done. Messing with the snap rings around the rails, those need to be switched out. You don't want them putting the old snap rings around the ladders because they just fail in due time, and then it'll close the pool down from time to time. And then make sure they're balancing the pool out, who's putting the chemicals back in the pool, and make sure it's the company that did the actual job, that they actually come out when the pool's full and get the pumps back up and running and put the start chemicals in there so that they can see with their own eyes how the finish looks and make sure that the first initial treatment of the chemicals are done by them. And then that would also help, at least they'd come back one time and they could check the site and make sure that they got everything done and kept it clean and so on. And then the service standard, generally work performed, basically what they're going to be doing, that they have employees, workers comp, provide estimates for time frame of the project. You want them to try to get some sort of time frame. You don't want them to just coming in there and working for a day and then not showing back up for a week because they don't really have a timeline. Usually for a resurface with new tile, 30 days. You don't really need any more time than that, even with some bad weather. And then you want to confirm if the subcontractors are used, that they also are they have liability insurance and workers comp. How many subcontractors, what type of subcontractors. Basically, that'll determine if you're hiring a contractor or you're hiring a builder. Contractors just contract the work out. Builders have in-house employees. Emergency services, giving them a contact information and stuff like that. Liabilities and other terms. Personal property damage by this vendor is repaired at the vendor's cost. You just want to make sure that you let them know like all the pre-existing damage prior to starting work. Any addition or extra work must be approved before proceeding. All change orders. You got to make sure that they approve a change order before you let them keep going on with the job. Because sometimes they'll just send you a price and they'll just keep going. And then the next thing you know, they got you already with their change order for $7,000 that didn't even really need to be done at the time. Down to insurance requirements, commercial general liability insurance, vehicle insurance for all the vehicles that go on your site, workers' compensation, that's probably the biggest one. Try to stick with, like I said, make sure the qualifications of the guys are licensed to do business in the state of Florida, that they're commercial pool contractors. Like that's the biggest one. That'll stop a lot of these problems that I keep going to all the time. Time and time again is because they hired a residential pool contractor to resurface their commercial pool. And they did not know all the codes and things that, and then they tried to cut some corners or whatever that maybe they just didn't know all the things that need to be done, because a commercial pool is way different than a residential pool. And then that's when you want to have 5 years experience with resurfacing of commercial pools. That's very helpful. And then 3 references would be nice if you can get 3 jobs that they've done recently, at least in the area, someone that you could talk to and see if they were reputable and how good the staff was and stuff like that. And that's pretty much it. It'll just give you a good starting point. Maybe it's not going to be exactly what you need, but there's parts in there that everyone should have for their remodels.
I think it's such a great sheet. Tom, thank you so much for creating it. And Lindsay can attest to this, that apples to oranges is way too tough for a cam. It's way too tough for a board. It creates a lot of time that nobody has. So having an RFP for any bid process that you're doing at your association, in my opinion, is crucial, because you truly are comparing apples to apples based on what your needs are and what your board, and then you can present your board true apples to apples, and then ask questions from there.
Yeah.
So Tom with East Coast Pools and Spas was able to provide this to you guys. So use it. And sincerely, we cannot speak more highly of their team. They have been in business, like I said, for almost 3 decades, if not already 3 decades. And just keep winning awards and keep winning bids and keep winning favor in from locals, from residentials, from commercial. So, Tom, thank you so much. We
No
appreciate
problem.
your time this morning, and we'll see
Have
you
a good day.
again next month.
All right. Bye.